I don't have a gavel, so I'll use my knuckles. We'll bring this Public Works Committee meeting to order. Call to order, excuse me, posting of affidavit. This meeting was posted per state law. And a roll call. Everybody's here except Doug Newman, who is excused for the day, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm gonna jump down to item number 6A, public hearing. If the county clerk can please read the notice of public hearing.
The Specialized Transportation Assistant Grant application for 2023 is scheduled for a public hearing by the Washington County Public Works Committee on Thursday, November 17th at 4 p.m. in the Washington County Herbert J. Tenney's Government Center in West Bend, Wisconsin, for the purpose of receiving comment for Washington County's proposed application for approximately $475,656 of funding authorized under section 85.21 of the Wisconsin statutes to implement its elderly and disabled transportation program, shared ride taxi service, non-urgent medical rides out of county service, one ADA van or minibus with lift. At the hearing, Washington County Public Works Committee will afford an opportunity for the interested persons or agencies to be heard with respect to the social, economic, and environmental aspects of the project. A copy of this application for a state grant for the proposed project is currently available for public inspection at the Washington County Transit Services, 900 Lang Street, West Bend, Wisconsin.
Okay, thank you. So is there anybody here from the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Last call. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. And I'll ask for a motion and a second from the committee to discuss item 6A.
Motion, John.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, motion by Hartwig, Supervisor Hartwig, sorry, and second by Supervisor Krieger Gundrum. Any discussion? Sure. Nothing from the. If you'd like to, we certainly can.
It almost looks like a no-brainer, doesn't it?
Sounds like a no-brainer. See no further discussion on this. We'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Now we'll go through the consent agenda. Assuming everybody looked at the minutes and stuff. I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Okay, we got one second. We got a first from Supervisor Schwab and a second from Supervisor Hartwig. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, then discussion items. Again, I don't need a motion for that, right? So we can go to the highway quarterly report.
Good evening. Josh Glass with the Highway Department, Assistant Highway Commissioner. Just giving an update on our 4 main initiatives that we have established through the EOS program. First one is the creation of 2050 transportation network sustainability plans for all of the partnering municipalities. We've completed 2 of these so far. Our first 2 out of the gate were Village of Kewaskum and the City of West Bend. Those 2 plans are now considered, in our mind, done. Both have accepted those plans as advisory tools, and they appreciated the product that we gave them. Up next, the 2 that we just initiated now are Town of Farmington and City of Hartford. So those are in progress. City of Hartford was just given a draft map yesterday, displaying their city's utility ages. It's for their review. This is our initial steps to get the ball rolling with the plans. And then we also just sent out a questionnaire today to both of those, just getting some basic information back. we already got the city of Hartford's back, even within the first day, some basic questions, just basic cost stuff to get the ball rolling and something that we can plug into our application. So we'll be working on that moving forward. We do anticipate this now that we have our template kind of established, our web application platform is now up and rolling. We're not starting and tweaking that as much now. So we anticipate this process being a little even smoother and quicker now than the first two plans were, since we have that already in place. Second initiative is our intersection safety analysis plans. So we are in the process now of updating the county's intersection safety plan, which was adopted a few years ago now. So we work really close with GIS, primarily Mike Vanderstanden, and GIS does outstanding job. So he has now imported data from the traffic centers and he runs an analysis through GIS. And he did that now. He did an initial analysis. We met with him earlier this week, reviewed some of that, just for like some basic quality control of the data. Found a few things that just needed to get tweaked a little bit, just taking that back, making the modifications to the methodology that's tied to the data. Then we'll be meeting again soon to take that second review of that. So that is up and rolling as well. Now as we produce plans for the local municipalities, once we have the county plan update further along, we'll have all that methodology and all that data gathering and all that stuff will all be set. And we can simply run that for the locals moving forward. Initiative 3 is the creation of the high-risk rural road plan. This is a very, very similar process to the intersection plan. It's basically running a different buffer. The intersection plan looks at areas within 250 feet of the center of an intersection. The rural roads will capture areas outside of that where there's crash history. So it's very similar, just different geospatially in GIS. And then because of the relatively small scale of a town road system, as we produce these plans for the locals as well, our intention is to provide the towns with a more consolidated plan that addresses their intersections and their rural roads, just because it's not going to be quite as complex as a larger county highway system. So those will be happening here shortly as well. Initiative 4 is our culvert inspection and inventory. So we dug back and looked at records, things that we've had in place from years ago in the highway department. We have fairly good historical documentation in place, mostly in Excel format of previous inventories of our culverts. The process of inspecting the county system, we're prioritizing now as we continue inspections, looking at roads that we have in our CIP that we're going to be resurfacing in the relatively near future, try to plan ahead and get those culverts done before we do the repaving, try to time it out the best we can that way, just plan for settlement, things like that. I'll be developing a way to capture some training as we do our culvert inspections. My plan is to, as of right now, do some kind of like a video that we could have recorded. We can share with the local municipalities so they can do their culvert inspections similar to ours. Probably post it on the web or share that somehow in some platform with them. We'll be working with IT again and GIS using our web application and developing a system there where we can house our data. And then as they do their inspections, the theory is that they can enter their data into the same system. That way we have a countywide culvert inspection database. And that's going to make it a lot more efficient moving forward. Years from now, as elected officials, as there's turnover in certain positions, all of that information is clearly maintained, standardized, easy to find, easy to sort out. And we have that all housed in one location. So that will be happening very soon as well. But as of right now, everything is on track. So any questions for me on those?
Turn me on, Ashley. Okay. So we don't have a complete county inventory because mostly of the townships I mean, when I initially looked at this, like 18 years since we looked at all the culverts, that's not right, right?
Yeah, it's really up to them to maintain their own.
We look at ours
Yes,
more often
yeah,
than
we
that.
maintain our own. And just looking back, I think we can do a more thorough job even so this time around. On how it's gonna be done. It's gonna be a lot more efficient. It's gonna be really nice to have it in place. It's
Okay,
gonna be a big benefit long term to everybody to have that all in one spot. It's just stuff that gets thrown in a file and kind of lost in the abyss, and you gotta dig it out, and everybody does it their own certain way. I think this is gonna be a big benefit to everybody.
good. Also, on the first page with our sustainability plans, do we have some other municipalities or townships kind of lining up to do this?
I sent out an email. We had a meeting several months ago in spring with all the municipalities came with the chief elected officers. I had that meeting to see who would want to come and go to. We didn't get a lot of response from it at that point. So we'll be sending out that email again to see who was actually interested in doing that for municipalities. I think a lot of them are waiting to see how the first ones turned out. So it's nice to give them an opportunity to look at who else can respond, so they kind of see more of what they're getting, what their plans are, just a little bit different than what we have. I think that'll help unless we get one of the towns done, especially town of Farmington. I think they'll see what they're gonna get and might spark some more interest.
Thank you.
If I can add to that too. Again, I talked to the town of West Bend and the town of Addison. They seem to be really interested, but haven't reached out yet. But you talked about they're falling behind on watching your culverts.
Potentially.
When you do this road, the transportation network road with municipalities, do you look at culverts as well? It's just road
on the-
surface?
On the county's plan, we did have an element there that did address the county bridges.
Mhm.
But as we work on their plans with them, we would rely on them to relay any culvert or bridge issues on their end that we could try to tie into their.
I was gonna say, cause that would affect the road construction, right? Or road-
Absolutely.
Road work.
Yeah, we'll include bridges and larger structures that they have there. Not just 18-inch culvert, but something larger, more meaningful, certainly.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I just want to ask you guys some good advice. You know, the galvanized culverts and plastic culverts, which ones do you think are the better ones?
It depends on the application, and we certainly can meet with you and actually this spring and have representatives from all the towns say that those again. We used to have those meetings quite often. We invite those again, and that'd be a great thing. We can talk there. There's aluminized as well that we've been using. So it depends on the application if it's going to be below water all the time or if it's going to dry out. So we use a combination of all of that as well as concrete. So it really depends on the specific application you're looking at and how much covering you have over the pipe and stuff. So we have got once we give us a call, staff and myself, we try to come out there and give you some advice. Anything.
Thank you.
Does it also depend on availability and pricing?
Pricing always comes into it as a factor, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
That's
Okay, seeing no other questions.
All right, thank you.
We can move on to transit ridership report. That kind of is what it is, right? Anybody have any questions on the ridership report? I mean, it still looks like it's same as last month, just stays down, and obviously we'll be addressing this in the next few months. No other questions? We'll move on to the Washington County Commuter Express.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Myself and Joy, our transit manager, will start off in this. So as you alluded to last month, we brought forward to you a sewer pack report that was done for Washington County. The senior agenda package today of sewer pack report that was done for the Hartford Area Development Corporation. A little bit different methodology there, focused obviously strictly on employment and the Hartford area business part. That's how we get there, but figured it was worthwhile to share this. We are looking at employment, that the model that was given to them, probably very similar to something that would come forward to the city of West Bend or Village of Jackson or any other local municipality that has a industrial park associated with it. So we thought we'd share that with you. Looking forward, If you recall, what we're looking at doing is having a business and stakeholders meeting on December 13th. That's at the Highway Department. We certainly would love RSVP. We have had several RSVPs already to come to that. And at that meeting, we'll discuss both of those reports. Both of those reports will be shared already via email and then available that day. That'd be a workshop format to talk to the businesses and the local communities and anybody else that wants to show up at that meeting. And we'll discuss those a few days later at your December Public Works meeting. And then it would look in January, early January, having one that's more open to the public to get their comments on this, not just what we discussed. You got to give the public a starting point, and I think having businesses and local municipalities first will then have us get starting points. We can talk more to the public and certainly get more ideas there. Not that it will be done at the business meeting, obviously workshop, but then get the public's involvement and then bring that back to you in January. So we have more detailed discussions into February, March, and April to get more what this committee decides to want to focus on. We get you more information on a particular or two or three different transit options to look at going forward. So that by the time budget time comes around, middle of next year, you have an opportunity to really discuss it and have time to delve into the data.
I think we kind of discussed the different routes last month, right? We kind of went through it a little more.
Yeah, we went through some of the routes and sure fact did make modifications to that report, and Joy is here as well too if you want to walk through very quickly the hardware development project and how it was a little bit different methodology, different transit options. If you had a chance to read it, that's fine too, because we will be going through this over the next several months with this committee.
Anybody have any further questions on this, or do you want to wait till see what happens in December and discuss it at the next committee meeting?
That's a good idea, because then we'll have a background from the.
More feedback from the public and we'll have a better idea which direction to go. Okay, I guess we're good with that, then thank you. Okay, moving on to action items. We got the first one complete, so we go into B, cross-country share ride. So I need a motion and a second to bring this on to the floor.
I'll make a motion.
One.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Hartwig and second by Supervisor Krieger Gundrum. Any discussion? That's something that you guys want to talk about?
So I just want to point out there was an error in the report and the fare tables. If you notice in the report, it says that the agency rate that was adopted by Ozaukee County was an additional $2. It was actually $5.
Ah,
Right.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah, so the agency rate over there is lower than what we charge. So, you know, we can choose to go with a $2 or $3, $5, whichever. So the the agency rates and all of the fares are actually speaking of the mic, okay. All of the fares are unique to the counties and we're able to set our own fares and what's appropriate for our services.
Mhm.
So our current agency rate is $14 per ride. If we added, $5, it would go up to 19. The Ozaukee County agency rate is 12. So their max is going to be 17 for the cross county service. Oh, yes.
Can I ask?
Who qualifies for an agency rate?
Yes. Okay. So agency rate is what we charge for individual rides that are paid for by social service agencies. So these are agencies that already receive funding from the state to provide transportation services. Yeah, no, they do not pay the mileage rate. It is a flat fare.
So, a couple observations. The first one, as narrow as Ozaukee County is, and as much larger geographically as Washington County is, I can understand the discrepancy between the $12 and $14 fares, and it doesn't seem unreasonable based on distance that we might have to go from, because this is basically any point in Washington County, right?
Yes.
So that doesn't seem unreasonable to me. And then looking at the fiscal effect on believe it's page 2 of the report. Feedback from the pilot suggested that cross-country surcharge of $5.75 was too high. I'm curious to know who's the pilot, or was that a study? Was that a survey? Where's that information come from?
Yeah, it was a survey. And feedback that we received, talking to the public about the service. So we did put out a survey at the end of it, to see what it was. And that was one of the things that we got was that the 575 was out of reach for some people as a surcharge.
I think one thing to add on this to make sure we're all on the same page on this. Before what we did was we charged the mileage to the county line, and the mileage basically stopped there. If you're in taxi cab, right, the mileage, it stopped when you're charging $5.75. Now what we're doing is we're charging the mileage rate in Kozaki County, wherever they go to, plus the $3 on top of that. So we kind of get, that's what I'm saying there is that you reach the stock the county line for mileage, and you're going all the way in for mileage, so there'll still be something on top of the $3. But it won't be to the 575, and that's why you see the $22,664. But it's certainly up to this committee if they feel a higher rate is warranted. That is fine. We have 2 separate systems, so this is for people that are going from Washington County into Ozaki County. Ozaki County bringing people back, and then we charge them the $3. But we certainly have within your purview to charge whatever dollar amounts that you so choose.
Well, I guess I'm not sure what the right amount is, but it seems to me, anytime you ask somebody what the rate should be, it should always be less.
Oh, of course.
So from that angle, I don't know that from the payer's perspective, 575 is probably way too high. I'm not sure that that's the right answer. As far as lowering the fee is expected to increase ridership. That, in my opinion, is pure speculation.
Yes, 100%.
So I'm not sure where to go with that. Other than to say,
Well, the recommendation right now is to approve the $3, which is the lower rate, right? That's what they're recommending. So is it this board's, would we agree to that? Or maybe try it can we try it for a year?
Well-
Revisit it in a year? And if,
You can revisit that whenever you'd like.
yeah, or 6 months.
help me understand. I mean, didn't you just explain that the charging methodology has changed so that I'm willing to follow the recommendation because to that extent, the 575 is almost irrelevant if the methodology is now changed.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because if they're charging for mileage all the way in now, you're kind of getting one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right, and the reason we didn't do that earlier was like he was on a tiered system, and they do by the miles, and they are changing over to the mileage system now. So that's why we didn't do that before, and that's what we had to do with some kind of system. And the 575 was
The average cost of ride.
So you're looking for a uniformity between the two.
Two counties.
Mhm.
So we'll match what they're doing. I mean, I know what you're saying now, but like I said, if we're getting paid by the mile already anyway.
Right.
Then if they're going across the county, well, they're kind of paying for that. Again, it's gonna take a little bit of a fiscal hit, but we can always readdress it in 6 months or a year from now again anyway. Sounds like a plan.
I'm good with that.
Anybody else have any questions on this? Or seeing no more, we'll take a vote. Everybody approve, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody disapprove? Motion carries. We're good. And the next meeting date will be Thursday, December 15th at 4 PM. So that's 3 days after, or 2 days, right, after the meeting. So this meeting is now adjourned.